So the story starts 10 years ago, actually more than a decade ago in 2009, when a subsidiary of the Reliance Group called Vishvapradhan makes a loan to NDTV. I think the loan is about 400 crore rupees. And it is made to RRPR Holdings, which is a promoter entity of NDTV. Now, the loan is slightly unusual in the sense that it is an interest-free loan, and it has the option written into the loan agreement that the loan amount can be turned into equity. In financial jargon, this is called an options contract. Now, what has happened is that Adani acquired this subsidiary of Reliance on the 23rd from, I think, according to what is in the public domain. And it immediately chose to exercise the option of converting the debt into equity. If you read the statement that they sent to the Bombay Stock Exchange, it said they need 2 days to complete this transaction. So that would have been 25th. I mean, there's a lengthy kind of court battle ahead. And so it's really not clear what will happen, except that I think the deal has not been closed yet. Adani triggered the option of acquiring 29% stake in NDTV. And I think SEBI rules mandate that once they do this, they also have to make an open offer for another 26% of the company. Adani Group is a large, diversified conglomerate. I mean, they have interests in infrastructure, which ports and airports. They're involved in coal trading. They're involved in energy and cement. Now, the media business, to my mind, does not immediately fit into this portfolio. In the case of Reliance, there were synergies between Reliance's acquisition of Network 18 and the business that it was trying to get into at that time, it was basically trying to shift from its core business of petrochemicals and into mobile broadband. My guess would be that by acquiring media assets, Adani gets maybe direct control over the media narrative. There are prior instances of this. For instance, in 2008, Y.S. Rajshekhar Reddy started Sakshi newspaper in Andhra Pradesh because, he wanted narrative control over his own media asset so that he could put forth kind of the Congress viewpoint in Telugu. It's likely that, this is a motivating factor. Now, Adani has previously bought out Bloomberg's stake in the Bloomberg Quint joint venture. They've opened up another front of competition with the Ambanis, who own CNBC and Money Control in the business news space. So let's take a look at the Indian media landscape, right? So the legacy media outlets are mostly corporate entities. They are either listed companies themselves or they are part of bigger conglomerate. Now, examples of the former, which is media outlets which are listed companies, include Hindustan Times, Dainik Bhaskar, and NDTV. Some of these media outlets are perceived to be the last bastions of some kind of independent journalism and reportage. For instance, NDTV, the last of the English news channels, which hasn't given into jingoism, and perhaps Hindustan Times, which also tries to bring some balance. Now, it is a difficult balancing act because they have to keep their shareholders happy. Now, the second type of the news outlet that is part of big conglomerate, and the best example of this is Network 18, which is owned by Reliance. An independent editorial line in these kinds of outlets is difficult to take, and journalists working within these organizations are well aware of the topics that they can and they cannot report on. Any stories about businesses that the parent company is involved in cannot be touched. However, if you report on anything that is owned by a rival company, that too is suspect, because no matter how legitimate, you could open yourself up to charges of doing a hit job. Now, the Adani NDTV takeover, to my mind, is an example of a big corporate conglomerate trying to take over an independent but listed firm. So, in terms of diversity of the media, that cannot be good. Now, third type of media entity has sprung up, web-only news sites. The Wire, Scroll, Caravan, and News Laundry are good examples, of this, and they seem to have picked up the slack from the traditional print outlet. Finally, you have the Bennett Coleman Group, the owners of Times of India. In many ways, they are the pioneers of the commodification of news over the last 3 decades. Now, when it comes to media companies housed within larger corporate entities, it is a given that they will serve the interests of the parent company. I would also like to add here that since 2014, a truly insidious turn that the mainstream media has taken is wholehearted support of the regime in power. So, for instance, most of the mainstream media have either wholly or partly become appendages of the Narendra Modi regime in demonizing minorities, Muslims especially, and promoting a Hindu majoritarian agenda. This is something that now has become very, very overt. The psychological and the verbal assault on Muslims is being done through the mass media.